At least 3 killed after logistic warehouse collapsed in Pulau Pinang. 41 miners safely escaped collapsed tunnel in India. Hello, good afternoon. You're watching World Today. I'm Shuhaida Arifin. Now we begin with update on the local front. The search and rescue SAR operation for 4 victims feared to be still buried in the rubble of a logistic warehouse under construction that collapsed in Bayan Lepas Pulau Pinang last night continues today. The Malaysian Fire and Rescue Department, JBPM, in a statement said the SAR team was now removing the collapsed structure using heavy machinery. In the meantime, Pulau Pinang City Council has issued a stop work notice to developer of logistic warehouse in Batu Maung.
According to the statement, a crane has been used to lift the heavy beam structure that blocks the entrance to the collapsed building, and this task is expected to take some time. According to JBPM, its team is having problems lifting the fallen beams to get to the victims buried under the rubble. This is because the beams are heavy and large concrete structures. JBPM said it will continue the operation until all the victims are found and brought out. As of 6 a.m. today, 4 victims were reported to be still buried in the rubble. 3 have been confirmed dead, while 2 seriously injured are receiving treatment at Pulau Pinang Hospital.
Now moving on to the world news. Trapped Indian miners were greeted with mild cheers and flowers garlands yesterday as rescuers safely brought out all 41 from the collapsed Himalayan road tunnel where they were trapped after a marathon 17-day engineering operation. The rescued men were welcomed as heroes by state officials and family members after being hauled through 57 meters of steel pipe on stretchers specifically fitted with wheels.
Relatives outside celebrated after previous hopes of reaching the men were repeatedly dashed by falling debris and the breakdown of multiple drilling machines. In a rescue operation the government said took place in challenging Himalayan terrain. All of the workers were reported to be in stable condition, with no one sustaining serious injuries, as a team of medics in a field hospital assessing them as soon as they were brought out. After repeated setbacks in the operation, military engineers and skilled miners dug the final section by hand using a so-called rat hole technique. A 3-person team working at the rock face inside a metal pipe just wide enough for someone to squeeze through. Prime Minister Narendra Modi told the workers in a statement that their courage and patience is inspiring everyone.
Winding gear at a giant South African platinum mine failed, sending an elevator into a precipitous fall that killed 11 workers and injured 75 others. Impala Platinum said 14 of the injured workers remain in critical condition after the disaster on Monday as the elevator brought the miners up after the end of their shift.
All operations at the Rustenburg mine, northwest of Johannesburg, have been suspended while an investigation is underway. Muller said the devastating accident at the mine was the darkest day in the history of the company, which is known as Implats. There were 86 employees in the 3-level lift when it unexpectedly reversed direction and began descending back down through the shaft. One emergency system failed to stop the lift, which came to an almost instantaneous halt when a counterbalance weight rose to ground level and was caught in safety devices. However, trade unions questioned safety measures at the mine, as Geoffrey Mochi of the National Union of Mine Workers said that shaft lifts need to be checked on a regular basis. Mining employs hundreds of thousands of people in South Africa, the biggest exporter of platinum and major exporter of gold, diamonds, coal and other raw materials, and accidents are common. Dozens of mine workers are killed each year, though numbers have been falling as safety standards have been stepped up over the past 2 decades.
Authorities in West Germany on Tuesday urged residents to stay home, warning of life-threatening danger after a burst of winter weather led to hazardous roads, leaving 2 people dead.
The sudden onset of winter led to several accidents and people being trapped in their vehicles due to slippery roads and fallen branches caused by snowfall in many parts of Germany. In Rengau-Taunus district in the west of Hesse, 100 people were evacuated from their vehicles near Eltville-Martinstal, while 70 people were trapped on the road near Linnenbad. Locals described 15-minute journeys taking 3 hours and being taken by surprise as the snowfall caused traffic chaos. The German Meteorological Service, DWD, forecasts snow and sleet again in many federal states today, adding that the weather will persist in the coming days.
Finland will close its entire border with Russia to travelers for the next 2 weeks in a bid to halt the unusually large flow of asylum seekers to the Nordic nation. Some 900 asylum seekers from nations including Kenya, Morocco, Pakistan, Somalia, Syria and Yemen have entered Finland from Russia in November, an increase from less than 1 per day previously.
Prime Minister Petteri Orpo said the short-term complete closure of the eastern border is a necessary and proportionate measure to stop the phenomenon. Helsinki says Moscow is funneling people to the border in retaliation for its decision to increase defense cooperation with the United States, a charge the Kremlin denies. Finland infuriated Russia earlier this year when it joined NATO, ending decades of military non-alignment due to the war in Ukraine. Finland last week shut all but one of its border posts to travelers from Russia, keeping open only the northernmost crossing, the remote Raja-Jooseppi station located in the Arctic. The border station will remain open on Wednesday before closing until 13th December.
Now, on the foreign front, Hamas freed another 12 hostages, while Israel released 30 Palestinian prisoners on the 5th day of an extended 6-day truce between the Palestinian group and Israeli occupational forces in the Gaza war. The International Committee of the Red Cross ICRC said the 12 hostages had been transferred from Gaza. Israel's military confirmed that the 10 Israeli citizens and 2 foreign nationals were with its special forces on Israeli territory.
The hostages were among some 240 people taken by Hamas on 7th October, prompting Israel's bombardment of Hamas-ruled Gaza in retaliation, which has killed more than 15,000 Gazans. Israel said it freed 30 Palestinian detainees from Offa and a detention center consisting of 15 women and 15 teenage males. The truce has brought Gaza its first respite after 7 weeks of fighting and bombardment that has reduced much of the Gaza Strip to rubble. It had been due to expire overnight into Tuesday, but both sides agreed to extend the pause to allow for the release of more hostages held by Hamas and of Palestinian prisoners held by Israel. Israel has said the truce could be prolonged further, provided Hamas continues to free at least 10 Israeli hostages per day. The total number of hostages released by Hamas since the start of the truce last Friday now stands at 81, including 60 Israelis, all women and children, and 21 foreign nationals, many of them Thai farm workers. Israel had freed 150 prisoners prior to Tuesday's releases. Meanwhile, United Nations General Assembly held its annual debate on the West Asia at the United Nations headquarters in New York City. Palestinian UN envoy Riyad Mansour, in his speech, stressed that this truce must turn into a permanent ceasefire.
As the Assembly's resolution had foreseen, only a truce could allow sincere efforts to begin to address the humanitarian catastrophe being inflicted by Israel, the occupying power, in Gaza. Only a truce could lead to the release of people held in captivity and avoid further regional escalation. This truce must turn into a permanent ceasefire. The massacres of Palestinian children, women, and men cannot resume, should not resume. You should not allow it to resume. No conflict in recent memory has seen so many children killed at this pace, civilians killed at this pace, journalists killed at this pace, UN staff killed at this pace, humanitarian and medical personnel killed at this pace. This is a full-fledged war against Palestine and its people.
Riyadh to host 2030 World Expo. There are more coming up after the short break. Campaigning at the Indonesian election officially began yesterday, with two of the three presidential candidates in the world's third largest democracy launching their bids with public speeches ahead of next year's poll. The February election will see Defence Minister and former Special Forces General Prabowo Subianto face former Central Java Governor Ganjar Pranowo and former Jakarta Governor Anies Baswedan to lead the Muslim-majority archipelago nation.
Nearly 205 million people are eligible to vote on 14th February, with the winner set to succeed President Joko Widodo after he completes the maximum 2 terms, ruling Southeast Asia's biggest economy. Two candidates held separate opening campaign events on Tuesday, with frontrunner Subianto's closest rival, Pranowo, giving a speech in the restive eastern region of Papua. Subianto, 72, is increasing his margin of popularity over Pranowo, 55, according to a poll published this month by Indicator Politik Indonesia. The poll showed the third-time presidential candidate is now favoured by 39.7% of voters to 30% for Pranowo. Baswedan, a popular figure with conservative Muslims who has repeatedly finished third in polls, launched his campaign around the capital, Jakarta. He has picked Widodo's son, Gibran Rakabuming Raka, as his running mate. Stoking criticism, the Indonesian leader is trying to create a political dynasty. If no candidate obtains more than 50% of the first-round vote, a second-round runoff vote will be held between the top two in June. The Elections Commission said the next president will be sworn in October 2024.
The Saudi capital Riyadh won the right to host the 2030 World Expo, defeating rival bids from Italy and South Korea, as well as overcoming objections from rights activists to take hold of another global mega event. With a pledge for an expo built by the world for the world, Saudi's bid smashed the opposition after a years-long lobbying campaign whose intensity caused some gnashing of teeth among its Italian rivals.
The World Expo is a months-long showcase event attracting millions of visitors that aims to respond to the specific challenges of the current time. Hosting the Expo is of immense importance to Saudi Arabia, whose bid has been spearheaded by Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman as he seeks to secure the world's top events to showcase the kingdom across the globe. The date of 2030 is also hugely symbolic, as it coincides with the key milestone in the Vision 2030 program of Mohammed to diversify Saudi Arabia economically and also culturally. The prince said the selection of the country underlines its influential and leading role and the international confidence it enjoys as Saudi Arabia becoming an ideal destination for hosting major international events. The kingdom is also set to host the 2034 FIFA World Cup after emerging as the only bidder for the event and is already welcoming a host of motor racing, golf and combat sports events.
Two U.S. Democratic lawmakers on Tuesday moved to force a vote to expel Republican Representative Josh Santos, who has been engulfed in scandal since his 2022 election and charged with corruption. The move, what is known as a privilege resolution, requires a vote on the matter within 2 legislative days.
The motion requires a 2/3 majority in the House, which Republicans control by a narrow 221 by 213 majority. Santos, on Friday, in an interview on X Spaces, said that he expected to be expelled. Democrats Robert Garcia and Dan Goldman, the lawmakers who filed Tuesday's resolution, introduced resolutions to expel Santos earlier this year that were referred to the House of Representatives Ethics Committee. Santos survived a vote to oust him on 1st November, but on 16th November, following a scathing report by the Republican Majority Ethics Committee, its chairman, Michael Guest, filed his own motion to expel Santos. The House has not yet scheduled a vote on either new motion. Guest introduced his motion after a report by his House colleagues suggested that federal prosecutors should bring additional charges against Santos, 35, who fabricated large aspects of his life story in his election campaign.
Hong Kong's largest ever national security trial begins final arguments today, more than 1,000 days after the case against 47 democracy activists under the Beijing-imposed law began. The defendants represent a cross-section of Hong Kong's opposition, including activists Joshua Wong and Lester Shum, Professor Benny Tai, and former lawmakers Claudia Mo and Ono Kin.
They are charged with conspiracy to subvert state power for organizing, joining and supporting an unofficial primary election in July 2020 to shortlist the opposition camp's candidates for the city's legislature election. According to the Basic Law, the semi-autonomous city's mini-constitution, Hong Kong's leader can dismiss the legislature if the budget is vetoed. If the same budget is struck down again by newly elected lawmakers, the chief executive must resign. The group of 47 were first charged in March 2021, with most of them being denied bail and have since remained in jail with 31 defendants pleading guilty. The trial has been conducted without a jury, a major departure from the city's 178-year-old common law tradition as ordered by the Secretary for Justice to prevent risks including the involvement of foreign elements. Instead, 3 senior High Court judges, handpicked by the government, were assigned to preside over the case.
Now next in sports, Man City stage a comeback top UCL Group G. Stay with us. Now we begin with football updates. Johor Darul Takzim JDT chances of advancing to the knockout stage of the Asian Football Confederation AFC Champions League continue to drop after they lost 0-5 to Kawasaki Frontale in their 5th Group I match at Kawasaki Todoroki Stadium last night. 4-time J1 League winners Kawasaki Frontale has booked its place in the knockout round, with last night's win having collected 15 points with 1 group match remaining.
The home team took only 8 minutes to score their first goal, courtesy of Akiro Inaga, and continued to dominate play till the end of the first half. Fresh from the halftime break, Kawasaki Frontale scored their second goal in the 50th minute after Leandro Damião's shot hit the post before going in, beating JDT keeper Ahmad Shihan Hazmi Mohammed. The Japanese team then scored 2 goals in the space of 9 minutes, first with a Marquinhos header in the 60th minute, followed by a goal by Yu Kobayashi to bring the scoreline to 4-0 before ending the match 5-0 with a goal by Miki Yamane in the 88th minute and retaining their unbeaten record. Meanwhile, 2-time champions Ulsan Hyundai of South Korea beat Thai club BG Pathum United 3-1 in the other Group I match last night. JDT will next play BG Pathum United at home in Iskandar Putri, while Ulsan Hyundai will meet Kawasaki Frontale in Ulsan on 12th December for the last group match.
Over in Europe, Manchester City's Julian Alvarez scored in the 87th minute as the European champions clawed their way back from 2 goals down to beat RB Leipzig 3-2 and clinch top spot in Champions League Group G early this morning with 1 round of matches remaining.
Luis Openda pounced on a pair of City defensive blunders for both Leipzig goals, sprinting onto a long ball from goalkeeper Yanis Blaswich, which bounced over a lackadaisical Manuel Akanji in the 13th minute. He struck again with seemingly similar ease in the 33rd, spinning around Ruben Diaz en route to scoring. Haaland, who poured in 5 goals against Leipzig in a 7-0 rout in the Champions League last 16 in March, finally gave stunned City fans at the Etihad Stadium something to cheer in the 54th minute when he ran onto a pass from Foden and struck a low left foot shot into the net. City levelled with Foden's excellent first touch and finish in the 70th, and Alvarez fired the hosts ahead when Foden's pass was deflected into his path for a close-range effort. City have now claimed 15 points after 5 games, while Leipzig, who had also reached the last 16, have 9.
Now in Spain, João Cancelo and João Felix scored in each half to earn Barcelona a 2-1 comeback win at home against Porto that booked their spot in the Champions League knockout rounds for the first time in 3 seasons.
The visitors wasted several chances before Pepe put them in front in the 30th minute with a close-range strike from a rebound. But Barca hit back quickly with a fine curling shot into the top corner by Cancelo 2 minutes later. Cancelo was excellent running down the left channel and teed up João Felix for a tidy first-time finish in the 57th minute to secure the win. Barcelona are top of Group H on 12 points, 3 ahead of Porto and Shakhtar Donetsk, who will play each other on the final match day to decide who will join Barca in the knockout stage.
Meanwhile, Borussia Dortmund booked their spot in the Champions League last 16 by beating AC Milan 3-1 at the San Siro in a lively Group A clash. Marco Reus, Jamie Bonne-Gittens and Karim Adeyemi were all on the target to help Dortmund top the group on 10 points, with Paris Saint-Germain, who drew 1-1 against Newcastle United, second on 7.
Royce put the visitors in front with a penalty kick after the referee pointed to the spot following David Calabria's foul on Bino Gittins. Samuel Chukwueze levelled for Milan from inside the box 8 minutes before half-time, scoring his first goal for the 7-time European champions. However, the hosts lost their spark after the break, and the 19-year-old Bino Gittins restored the lead for Dortmund just before the hour mark with a low shot from the edge of the box from an excellent Marcel Sabitzer's pass. Substitute Adeyemi made it 3-1 in the 69th minute after Milan keeper Mike Maignan twice tried to claw his powerful shot away, but the ball made it past the goal line anyway. Milan, bottom on 5 points from 5 games, can still secure a top 2 finish if they win at Newcastle and Dortmund beat PSG in the final round of the group stage. In another match, Kylian Mbappe struck a controversial penalty deep in stoppage time to earn Paris Saint-Germain a 1-1 draw against a valiant Newcastle United and keep their Champions League destiny in their own hands. The visitors had led the Group F clash since midway through the opening half, thanks to Alexander Isak's tap-in. PSG's players howled loudly for handball when the ball bounced off Newcastle's Tino Livramento's chest and onto his elbow, with referee Simon Marciniak then invited to check the pitchside monitor by the VAR official. To Newcastle's horror, Marciniak, who had turned down a more likely penalty earlier, pointed to the spot, and Mbappe was as cool as a cucumber to fire high past keeper Nick Pope in the 8th minute of stoppage time.
Arsenal requires just 1 point to advance to the knockout stages of the Champions League, and head coach Mikel Arteta said that it is where the club should be. Arteta's side have won 3 out of 4 group games, and with a home game against Lens early tomorrow morning, can secure qualification to the last 16 with a game to spare.
A win over Lens would guarantee top spot in the group, and the manager is keen to wrap it up before the final game away to PSV Eindhoven.
Yeah, we do want to win the game, that's for sure. We're going to be top of the group, and the opportunity is there for us tomorrow against a team that we know is going to cause us problems, and we have already experienced a defeat against them, so we have the right motivation to put that right tomorrow.
Arsenal lead Group B on 9 points, 4 points ahead of PSV and Lens, with Sevilla bottom with 2 points.
In motorsport, Alpine's Esteban Ocon finished quickest in an incident-filled day of Formula One post-season testing in Abu Dhabi on Tuesday, while Mercedes' George Russell crashed out.
After separate delays for the medical helicopter not being in position and a water leak on the track, Russell crashed at turn 6 due to an apparent car failure, which badly damaged the front right corner of his car. Another late interruption saw rookie driver Ayumu Iwasa's AlphaTauri catch fire, resulting in marshals extinguishing his car. Ocon set a time of 1 minute 24.393 seconds, completing 110 laps to end nearly 0.3 seconds faster than McLaren's new reserve driver Pato O'Ward, with Mercedes' Frederic Vesti, Red Bull's Sergio Perez and Ferrari's Carlos Sainz rounding out the top 5. Teams could run 2 cars, with one for race drivers to test tyres and the other for rookies.
Marc Marquez was immediately quick on his Ducati debut yesterday, lapping 4th fastest for Gresini Racing in MotoGP's end-of-season test in Valencia. The 6-times MotoGP World Champion's departure from Honda was announced last month, and the Spaniard was all smiles as he tried out the 2023 Desmos Sedici bike at the Ricardo Tormo circuit.
The Spaniard went top of the timesheets with an hour and a half remaining before Aprilia's Maverick Vinales went 0.171 seconds quicker, with KTM's Brad Binder ultimately second and VR46 Ducati's Marco Bezzecchi third. Gresini team manager Michele Massini described the season as amazing, saying that Marquez did great on the lap time recorded. Double world champion Francesco Bagnaia was 11th for the Ducati Works team after trying out a new chassis and completing 51 laps. Luca Marini, Marquez's replacement at Repsol Honda, got down to work with his new team after leaving VR46. The first official test of the 2024 season is at Malaysia's Sepang circuit in February.
76 minit tanpa henti, 76 minutes non-stop. Transparent and concise. Paparan komprehensif, ringkas dan padat. Saksikan Kanta 744, 7.44 malam. Berita perdana 8 malam. Malaysia Tonight, 8:30 p.m.
That ends the bulletin this afternoon, wrapping up with a recap of our top story. At least 3 killed after logistic warehouse collapsed in Pulau Pinang. Tune in to Malaysia Tonight, coming up at 8:30 p.m. on TV1 and saluran Berita RTM. We leave you with a visual of the streets in London lighting up ahead of Christmas season. From river to the sea, Palestine will be free. I'm Shuhaida Arifin, Malaysia Madani, tekad perpaduan penuhi harapan. Thank you for watching.